All the other 200.
There, I think I just turned.
I have a problem. You're the only one in the whole company. Do you understand?
Hello, everyone. We're going to give everybody a minute to jump on, but we're excited that you're all here with us today. I see lots of friends and colleagues' names on here. Okay, well, we're about a minute after noon, a couple minutes after, and my name is Brenda Knowles. I know a lot of you. I've seen names I know, and some of you are new to me. So I just want to welcome you to WIFI's Power Hour. And today we're going to have a leadership conversation between myself and Danielle Hunsicker, and she is the COO of Diverzify, but she'll introduce herself and you'll get to know her a lot better as we go along the call. But we're very excited you're here. I'd like to share a little bit about WIFI before we jump into our conversation. So WIFI is the Women in the Flooring Industry, and we launched WIFI in 2021, actually on International Women's Day, as you can see there. We are a 501(c), which is a nonprofit with a mission to attract, educate, and empower women in the flooring industry. And we're so excited that all of you are here. And we can go on to the next slide. So I won't go through every single person's name on here, but this is just a representation of our board, all of our board members. I will call out our 4 newest board members. We have Amy Gilmore, Allison Rollins, Ellie Preister, and Reva Rivas. And we're excited for these new board members to join us, and all of the innovation and new thoughts on how to move us forward in WIFI. So excited about these new members. Okay. Within WIFI, we have a professional development committee, and you can see here it is co-chaired by Whitney Legate with Mannington and Athena Walker, who's an industry, longtime industry person and volunteering with WIFI at this point. And the Professional Development Committee really leads our mentoring program and these power hours, which we have in the archives on our website, all of the previous power hours, and lots of really great topics there, everything from personal branding to today's leadership conversation, how to rock your LinkedIn profile, and lots of other great programs as well. So I would encourage all of you to go back and take a look at those and see if there's some that are really relevant to what you're trying to work on in your own professional development. And we'll move on. So want to thank all of our corporate donors. This is the list of our corporate donors, and just really appreciative of all the support that we have from the entire industry, both with the corporate donors and all of the volunteers from all of these organizations and others as well. So very grateful for the support there. So our mentoring program, I mentioned it. Our mentoring program is an adult-to-adult match. It's really designed for professional and personal development. There's a 6-month commitment. You can see here we have one in session today, and I actually had someone from another area of the country tell me just this week that they had joined this mentoring program and have been paired with a mentor outside of their company, and just the value that they've gotten out of that with, their own business planning in a local market and such. So lots of really great content and mentoring coming out of this program. The fourth cohort will kick off in the fall of 2024, and applications for both mentors and mentees will open in August. So encourage everyone to take a look at that program and where you might be able to plug in. And then one of the things that I'm most excited about that WIFI offers is a scholarship program. This scholarship program is for continuing education as well as post-secondary education scholarships, whether that's attending a college or seeking a degree or attending a conference or other educational and training programs. And it's for $1,000 to $5,000 per person per year for the post-secondary education. You can see there. And then other continuing educations, $250 to $1,000. So if you want to attend a conference or pursue a degree, this is just a great tool for continued development. And one of the programs that I am most excited about and have seen just the value of this program with all of the recipients. And the newest application deadline is coming up on July 10th. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Okay, so we are going to jump into our conversation here. So we have, as I said, Danielle Hunsicker, who is here with us, and Danielle is the COO of Diverzify, and she and I have gotten to know each other through a professional relationship over the last couple of years. And I've just really enjoyed partnership with her and learning from Danielle and just really inspired by a lot of the work that she's doing and just who she is as a person as well. And I'll ask Danielle to jump in and introduce herself and tell a little bit about her professional journey and her current role at Diverzify. Danielle?
Hi. Well, first, Brenda, I want to thank you and Andrea and the WIFI board for the opportunity to be here. I love the mission. I've had a chance to understand more about WIFI over the recent weeks, and I think the attract, educate, and empower women in this industry is something that I'm very passionate about. So excited for all that this organization is doing. So as Brenda mentioned, I'm COO of Diverzify. Diverzify is the largest installation and facility services provider in the flooring industry. We are 64 locations strong around the US. And I have to say, despite the growth that we continue to have, we really aren't about being the biggest. We want to be the best. And so our relentless focus is on the talent in our organization. We are a people business, and also making sure that we are providing our businesses, our locations, with the innovative tools and resources and all the things that they need to be the provider of choice in their markets and with their customers. So I have the privilege to lead the sales and operations for our team again across the US. So that's my now. I'm happy to talk a little bit about where I started. So if you go way back now, after a brief stint with an architectural firm, I pivoted to building materials pretty early on in my career. So I started with Ardex Americas as their first national architectural rep. And then that turned into growing into a team, which was a great team. And I like to say cement and glue were my first love. But then, I moved up to tile and stone. So I pivoted and joined the Dow Tile team, where I had the honor to lead the commercial efforts with Dow Tile, which included the architectural sales, national accounts, strategic team, as well as the buying groups and some of the industry associations. So I loved my time at Dow Tile. I think I saw a few names here on this call, but I was wooed away by PPG back in 2018 when they dangled the big carrot of, we'll let your office be in Pittsburgh and not Dallas. And I I live in Pittsburgh. So that was a big carrot for me at that time in my life. And so made the change, joined the PPG with their architectural coatings business, went on to lead a business within their industrial group for a few years and loved my time there also. But when I had a chance to come back to flooring, which it was a hard opportunity to pass. So here I am, as I've already talked, what I do for Diverzify. Brenda, I would love if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your career journey.
Sure. So again, I know many of the faces on here, but for those that I don't know, I am with Shaw. I'm a member of the Wi-Fi board, but I have built my career at Shaw, and that's my entire career at Shaw. I actually just celebrated earlier this year 40 years with Shaw. Now, for anybody doing the math, I was maybe 9 when I started, or at least I like to claim that. But yeah, I've built an entire career at Shaw, and it's just it's been a great journey. Shaw's really all about creating a better future, and that's for our business, that's for our people internally, that's for our customers, and it's for the communities where we live and work as well. And so we really are focused on creating that better future. And we do that certainly with our products and services platform is through flooring products, services, and solutions. And as I said earlier, Danielle and I have had the opportunity to really get to work with each other and spend time together through partnership in those flooring products and services and solutions. People often have asked me, why have you spent your entire career in one company? And I usually answer that with just the investment that Shaw makes in our people and the investment that Shaw's made in me and the opportunities for growth, not only in our business, but for each of us individually as well. And connected with Wi-Fi, I would like to mention Shaw's WIN network. Shaw has multiple ARGs, Associate Resource Groups. The first of those was WIN, and it's the Women's Innovation Network, and it's all about attracting, empowering women in our business here at Shaw. And so there's a lot of things that we're doing here at Shaw that Wi-Fi is also doing for the broader industry, which is exciting to see us carry that out further. I've spent my career primarily in our commercial business at Shaw. And so I've been able to see our business go from just the very beginning days. I started with Shaw 1 year before we started our commercial business. So we'll celebrate our 40 years of our commercial business in 1985 is when we started it. So we'll celebrate our 40 years next year in 2025. And it's just been a lot of fun to have been there from the very beginning to the position that we have in the marketplace today. So that's my story in terms of my career. I've had multiple roles within that. Everything from the early days when everybody put on a whole lot of different hats to sales throughout different markets in the country. I've been in sales leadership. I've started up new services within the business. I've spent a high percentage of my time leading marketing and product development, and I am currently in a customer experience role, which also includes all the insights and strategy to lead in customer experience. So that's a little bit about my career journey, but Danielle, we'd love to get to know you a little better personally. Why don't you share a little bit about your personal life with us?
Sure. Okay, so I mentioned I'm in Pittsburgh. This is where I live. I've lived here my whole life. I've officed elsewhere, but I've lived here, and I with my husband Greg and my 13-year-old son Connor and my 11-year-old daughter Kira, and then of course my 3-year-old boxer Lana, who, if anybody has a boxer, you know she's more like a 3-month-old, but we love her energy. So that's our home front. I would love to tell you that I'm really interesting, and on the weekends, I don't know, I go skydiving or do something really cool, but I don't. We are pretty much every moment of freedom, we are in doing something for the family, and we have a large extended family. So there's always a birthday party or something else. And if we're not at that or at a sporting event or at a community event, then we do have a little happy place in the mountains where we will boat in the summer and ski in the winter. So that's our little getaway from Pittsburgh, right outside on the weekends occasionally. That's really that's me, Brenda. I'm gonna toss it back to you with I'd love to hear more about your personal life.
So I live in Dalton, Georgia. As I mentioned earlier, I have lived in other places in the country, including Washington, D.C., Cincinnati, Atlanta, Chicago. Was in Dalton in high school and then early in my career and came back here in '07 with just the different moves that I've made with Shaw. And I have one daughter, Ava, who is on here. So I don't know if her face is showing. I can't see her, but if it is, maybe she could wave. Ava is a rising senior at the University of Alabama. Have to get a Roll Tide in there a little bit. And Ava is actually, as you know, Danielle, but to share with everyone else, she is doing a marketing internship this summer with Diverzify. And it's just fun to see her learning and contributing in that way and just all that she's learning. It's been a great experience for her so far. So we live in Dalton. We have a cockapoo and two cats who I like you, Danielle, I travel a lot. So when I come home, they need lots of love and attention. And our passion is travel. So we love to travel near and far and spend a lot of time doing that with friends and family. And just so that's really our passion is travel. So we talked about, we wanted to have a leadership conversation. So why don't we jump into that? And we've got some slides here just to call out some key themes of some things that we've learned along the way. And Danielle and I, in preparation, just had a really fun conversation about some of the things that we've learned along the way, both in our early careers, along the way, leading up to where we are today, and just what we've learned through that. I'll tell you, I love to borrow a good idea, and I don't know how many of you know Kelly Fain. He leads all of our commercial business here at Shaw, and I had the opportunity to hear him speak a few times about his leadership journey, and I just loved his format of what he learned from all the various roles that he's had about leadership and how he's grown into the leadership position with those learnings. And so we thought we would take that format to really talk about our leadership journeys as well. So today, you've heard a little bit about us. We'll spend a few minutes about what we learned in our earlier careers, what we've learned along the way today, and then kind of have a summary of key learnings. And then we want to leave a few minutes at the end to open it up for Q&A. So why don't we just jump in and let's just go straight to our early careers, Danielle. Let's talk about some of the themes that stood out to you as you reflected back on early career and how that's impacted your leadership today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I will echo you, and we really did have a lot of fun talking about this leading up, and just talking the storytelling, hearing more, learning more about Brenda, and that exchange was really valuable. So I just want to encourage, as we go through, we will have the Q&A at the end, but don't wait for it. If we're talking about something, drop it in the chat. We'll be following the chat, and we can pull it in or call you out or whatever you prefer to address any comments or questions. So early career. So this is the individual contributor, maybe early manager. That's kind of our definition as we're talking about that. And I have to say, my number one theme at this point in my career was curiosity. I am a curious person by nature, probably to the dismay of some that would wish that I did not ask as many questions as I do. But early on, I mean, that was really critical for me, not only for the roles that I was in, but also learning the broader business. I was always trying to understand what another department did, what another person did. I remember being when I was with Ardax, I would go out on jobs. I'd mix the cement. And I love that because I was learning about the products, learning about the customer, learning about the environment that they were used in. And all of that really fueled my understanding of the business and again, that broader stakeholder base around my immediate role and responsibility. So that's something that I encourage if you are a curious person, don't hesitate, don't stay in your lane, like go reach out, seek out the opportunity to understand things that maybe aren't immediately in your purview. And I'll kind of just dovetail that right into appreciation because they go hand in hand. I when you're asking someone, you're genuinely interested in what they're doing or what they're contributing. That appreciation for others is a great way for you to learn. And in my experience, that opportunity has led to phenomenal mentors along the way, where still today and always, I value their insight. And I encourage you to not only seek out those people, make sure that appreciation is there, but use that to build your broader network as you're developing early on.
Danielle, I love those themes. And as we talked earlier, that curiosity piece and just the learning that comes with that is just so key, and asking those questions and, just that value of learning and always being that lifelong learner, and the appreciation. I don't know if I shared this with you, Danielle, but I actually have a gratitude jar on my kitchen counter, and it just reminds me what are those things and who are those people that to be grateful for and show that appreciation to. So that's an important one as well. Also, in that individual contributor phase of your career, it's about delivering results, right? You're an individual performer, and how do you deliver those results? And that carries with you throughout every phase of your career. But something my daughter probably has grown tired of hearing during her childhood was, do all that's expected and a little bit more. So how do you really take on that mindset of delivering results? And there's a great little book by Jeffrey Gitomer. You can see the book title there. I'm going to say Get Stuff Done on this call. But here at Shaw, one of our leaders in the past had given this book to a lot of us, and it really is about unlocking the secrets of accomplishment and achievement, productivity and fulfillment. And because we in this world love acronyms, if you say GSD around Shaw, you immediately know what that means. It's hey, let's just get this done. GSD. So that's just a little gift if anyone wants to take a look at that book. It's a real easy read, but again, just delivering results. And the other piece of learning, I think, early in my career was building the value of building relationships and building trusted partnerships. Trust is earned. You cannot deliver all those results on your own, even as an individual contributor. And it is about building those relationships internally in your enterprise, through organizations like Wi-Fi, with your customers, that learning and earning the trust, and really building those relationships that can help contribute to both your success, the organization's success, and the success of all those around you as well. So let's move on.
I was just going to comment on the
please.
Trusted relationships part, the partnerships, the relationships, and that's part of our core values message. And I think most companies have something along those lines. I just want to reemphasize what you said. You cannot do it alone. And I remember those days where you do feel like you're alone, or you're in that individual contributor, you're hitting your goals. Even if you're in that spot, lift your head up, look around, who's to my left, who's to my right, and bring them into your space and start building out that network. One of the most important things you can do early in your career.
Yeah, great thoughts there, and building on that. So as you grew in leadership positions, Danielle, what else? What are some of the learnings beyond that individual contributor role?
So I'll get to the themes in a second here, but we put at the top individual contributor plus manager plus leader.
Mhm.
And the reason why we did that is because as you move into leadership in your career, you're still a manager and you're still an individual contributor. Your priorities may shift, but it's important that you don't lose sight of that as well. And I think as a leader, authenticity, it's definitely a corporate buzzword, but it is so real. And by real, I mean that's what you need to be as a leader. I think about being an authentic leader and in the good times and the more challenging situations, if you've got conflict, and we all have conflict, I mean, that's normal. How do you approach that in an open and authentic way? I remember a little bit of storytelling. So we all get great advice, and I don't think we have enough time on this call to go through all of the great advice I've had from so many people along the way. But sometimes you get bad advice, and that's okay to call that out too. And I remember I had a peer of mine who said to me, never ask your team for feedback. It makes you look weak. And you can imagine as a manager, junior leader, like that was coming from someone much senior to myself, albeit a peer. And I was like, okay, I listened, and it's always important to listen. But I did not take that advice. If you know me, if you've worked with me, I love feedback, and not just for myself, but for whatever we're working on. I think it's critical to get it, to learn from it. If you think you have all of the answers and you don't want insights from the people around you, that's a mistake along the way. So I chose not to take that advice. I have led with being myself and making sure that I solicit the insights from the people around me as I go. But being an authentic, just being real, being you is so important. It's going to bring confidence. It's going to bring, put you in a position to be successful where you probably wouldn't be, or you'd struggle if you were trying to be somebody you weren't.
I think that's really important too on authenticity. It is, and I love the story you shared about getting feedback, because it's important in those day-to-day conversations. And then sometimes it's important to do it in a more more unbiased or objective way, and getting feedback in a formal 360. I mean, some of my greatest learnings about where I had opportunities for development and growth have come from those exact things, is doing a 360 and understanding how I'm perceived by others, and being able to identify those things where you're successful that you can leverage, and those things where you really have opportunity to grow in, and putting a plan around those. So I love that authenticity. And then asking for help. And I know that asking for help is not specifically on here, but it's part of authenticity. And I loved what you said about look up and who's to your left and who's to your right, and bring them into your network. Every successful athlete, every successful business person, um, every person successful in life has a coach or many coaches. And it's always important to reach out in a very authentic way and ask for help. And whether that's back to the earlier slide of curiosity and building on that, or learning those new skills along the way, or just when you're stumped, it's okay. It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. But I'll move on into some of these others. Leading teams, as you begin to add that leadership role in your career journey, how do you look at leading teams? First of all, how do you build a team? And building a team with diversity on that team. I just walked out of a meeting where we had a lot of conversation about that, but you want to ensure diversity of thought, diversity of experience, people who will challenge each other, leveraging different strengths and behaviors, and really leveraging that to success. So in leading a team, it is about how you contribute, but it's also about being accountable to the results through leading that team to deliver the results. And I think that's really important to remember. And then also learning empathy. Leading a team often requires empathy, and learning that piece and how you can help develop people and meet them where they are is all very important as a leader as well. Being customer centric as a leader, depending on your role and who your customer is, we all have a customer of sorts, whoever we're serving in our business, but understanding your customer, understanding the problems that they have that you can help them solve, add value to, understanding where they are today and where they want to go in the future, and how you can help them be successful and get there is a big part of leadership as well. In addition to being that individual contributor and manager. And then you get into business planning along that way, developing that business acumen to understand the levers that you can pull to achieve your goals and help your customers achieve their goals. Becoming more strategic in your business planning is a key at this point in your career as well. So those are just some of the things. And Danielle, I don't know what you would add to those last three as well.
Yeah, and all great things said. As a leader, if I, talking through moving from that individual contributor to manager to leader, you have to guide your team. Your role as a leader is to motivate. Yes, you want to incentivize, communicate all of the things, but the most important thing is that you're the one that can communicate what success looks like and help your team understand how they get there. So that really ties into a lot of what you just said, Brenda. It's about the leadership. It's about the planning. It's also about the execution from your team. But to do all of that and not have an understanding as to the why, or again, what success looks like, that's a miss I've seen from others. I'm sure I've done it myself. So I would say that is something to reinforce, understand success. I had a mentor of mine, and I know he didn't come up with this, but he used to say it all the time, is start with the end in mind. And it's still today, it's always on repeat in my head. So that end game, whatever the project, the task, the year objectives are, know what they are, communicate them well, and make sure that plan is set for your team to successfully execute.
And that communication is such a key part of that, and the why, and that becomes even more important as you continue to grow in your career. And that kind of takes us to today, where we are today and where we might be going. So why don't you talk a little bit about that journey into executive management and some of the themes there of leadership?
So executive management is really fun. You like many, there's 100,000 things that you could do at any minute in time, or put your energy towards. Knowing where you should put the energy and where you should prioritize is really key to being successful as an executive. And it's not about you. It's about the organization that you're supporting. So if you're not appropriately prioritizing the focus, the time, the impacts can ripple through the teams that you have responsibility for. So having very good prioritization of the tasks or the strategies at hand, that's number one. And then number two, again, it's not about you. It's really, it's elevating the whole. Right? How do you do that? You're really more of an advocate. You're an advocate for your immediate team. You're an advocate for the broader business, and finding ways to do that. So I'll give an example. We have a weekly executive team meeting, and we spend the latter 10 to 15 minutes, and we do a recognition roundtable. Everyone has to come every week. Who are we celebrating? Look at Everett. It's not always like the big, hey, I got a $5 million job. It's the, hey, this person went above and beyond. This person demonstrated this core value for the organization. And so making those opportunities to elevate and advocate for the teams are really important, as in all phases, but certainly as you move up into a leader or executive management.
That advocacy is so important, Danielle. I talk a lot about don't just be a mentor, but be a sponsor. And who are those people that you want to celebrate and give a visibility and platform in all of our organizations. There's hidden talent. I mean, I'll share, just over this last year, I moved into a different role in our commercial business. And candidly, there are people, even though I was already on the commercial leadership team, there are people in this specific part of our organization that I just personally had not spent a lot of time with, and have discovered some real hidden talent and people who are making big contributions but don't have that visibility or platform in the organization. And so we're really working to make sure we're giving that hidden talent the platform, because they're making a difference in the business, but we want them to have a broader reach and even make a bigger impact in the business, and giving them a platform to do that. So it is about discovering that talent, celebrating that talent, and sponsoring them, advocating for them, and giving them a platform to be successful for that individual, as well as the impact that that has on the business. The other real, I guess, competency that you learn here in this level is, we talked about leading teams. We now have moved to leading leaders when you enter this point in career. And leading leaders, it's how are you building for the future? It's not only what you're accomplishing today, but how are you building for the future, and how are you empowering the leaders throughout the organization to innovate and prepare for the future, really driving innovation into all of our processes, giving people the voice to make a difference. And also, as you're leading leaders, you're a big part of creating the culture of your enterprise. So what do we want our culture to be? And then what are we doing to create that culture and the environment where our people can be successful and take us into the future? So I think that's a lot of leading leaders, is a big part of that is culture. And then just some other things in leading leaders is, went to a leadership development program in Houston several years ago, and a few of the people who joined me on that visit are actually on this call. I've seen their names. One of the big takeaways that I had, we did it at the Johnson Space Center, and we actually got to spend a portion of the time during that leadership development program in the room where the team on the ground was guiding the team up in space, the Apollo 13, and how to get them back to Earth. If you haven't seen the movie in a while, go watch it again. But one of the things that was a really big takeaway for me in that class that applies to leading leaders is knowing when to lean in and knowing when to lean out. And that's a hard thing to learn and really hone that skill. I'll tell you, it's important, whether you're a parent or you're leading leaders in business, is knowing when to lean in and help, asking the right questions, providing the right resources, nudging in the right direction, and then knowing when to lean out and just fully empower your team and empower your leaders so that they can take us forward into the future. So that was a real learning for me in leading leaders. Another one, really strategic planning. And we talked about business planning, but this strategic planning in this sense really takes a new level of thought in where are you going in the future, how to be very future focused. Where are you going and how will you get there? And then selling the vision. You talked about why in leading your team and communicating your team. In this case, selling the vision up through the organization, across the organization, down the organization, so that everyone fully understands the why of what you're doing and can align to that and come together to help achieve those results and move you to that place in the future that you see for the business. So I think those are some other things that are really important there. And then one other, just in that strategic planning and that executive leadership, is understanding a hard no versus a soft no. A hard no, when are those times that you've heard no, but really you just haven't sold the vision yet, right? Or you haven't really thought through the full why and been able to sell that in. And so don't let those no's block you along the way in any of these roles, individual contributor, manager, leader, or executive management. But understand the why and then sell that vision throughout the organization.
I love it. And strategy and planning are critical to all businesses. The only thing I would add on to what you said, Brenda, is you're talking about it within the business. It's critical. As an executive leader or a leader in the business, you do again have to take, look around. I keep saying that, but I use the term ecosystem view of your world. So you've got external stakeholders, you've got internal stakeholders, you've got dynamics in the marketplace, really paying attention and being intentional about what you're doing to take advantage, react, respond to the things that are happening around you, and not just the things that are happening within your own space, whether it's a team or a full business. That's really, really important as you continue.
Very good. Thank you for those additional thoughts. So we talked, those are things that we learned along the way at different points in our career, but there's some additional leadership things that are also helpful to keep in mind all along that journey. So Danielle, why don't you jump into some of these? I think the first one that you really gave a lot of thought to was authorship.
We're going to consider these three a flyover. We've talked about a lot of themes. I realize that, but as we sit back and try to digest the careers that we've had, really elevating the most important things to the top. These three that we'll touch on here, these weave through every single part of your career and are more about you as an individual, as a professional, and just our thoughts of things that we've learned and have embraced. The first, authorship, just as a word, but really that's controlling your narrative. People are going to give you opinions. You're going to be faced with good things. You're going to be faced with conflict, as I mentioned before. You control what you're doing in your career, how you present yourself, how you engage with others, the networks that you build, the roles that you want to be in, and how you strive to get there. All of that is part of your story, and no one can write that but you.
I love that. And I do think controlling that narrative and ensuring that you are you have your values, and then you have what your goals are, and then how you build that story with others to get there is important. Danielle, resilience.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Okay. Also, sorry for the buzzword in here, but it is an important one too. And we've heard it. I'm sure we've all heard resilience and the importance of being resilient in your career. This is really about being agile and keep moving forward in the face of adversity and change. Just look back over the last few years, and COVID, the one that we can all relate to, how we had to change the way we operated at home, how we had to change the way we operated at work, how our processes, our communications, we all had to be resilient in that moment. And that's a big case that we can all relate to. But as individuals, we face things that we need to embrace resilience on a daily basis or, on a frequent basis. So that keeping that in mind, that be agile, be flexible, but keep moving forward and having that as your goal.
And I think that's so important. And again, we can all point to points in our lives and our careers where we had to overcome. You talked about COVID, but there may be a time in your career where you don't get that next opportunity that you were hoping for. And how do you manage yourself in that situation and just really demonstrate agility to continue to contribute at a high level or go do something else and something new? You never know what's coming around the corner, and always being prepared for whatever that is coming around the corner for you as an individual and for the business. And as I said, you have to be looking forward at all times and really keeping that resilience, because the market's going to shift. And your business plan may be really solid based on all the assumptions that you've built, but something's going to happen during the year. It could be a big COVID, or it could be, other issues that maybe not as big and globally impacted as COVID did. But there will be things that you have to adapt to along the way during any given year, or during any given course that you're on and part of your journey.
Okay.
Trade-offs.
Last
This is a
theme
fun
here.
one and a hard one.
Yeah. Last theme, something we can all relate to, especially as women. Just is what it is. We are expected to do it all, and I would say most of us find a way to juggle that. I hear work-life balance. We know how important it is on a regular basis. That is a theme. I'm of the camp of work-life balance is, I don't want to say with unicorns and other things, but it's in constant competition, work and life, right? So they're trade-offs. And the most important thing is that as you're thinking about the trade-offs in your life and profession, that you're making them with intention. And I can speak, like we talked, Brenda and I both travel a lot. And I can tell you, if I'm on the road for 4 or 5 weeks and my husband's like, hey, Kira has a doctor appointment. If in that moment I say, I cannot take her and it's planned out, that would be a problem. So, I have to make those decisions. When is it? When can we make it work? I'm going to schedule so I can be there for it. I mean, that's just a personal example, but that constant flux is real for many of us, if not all. And I just encourage you to think about your trade-offs and make sure you're not making the same trade-off all of the time. If you can go back and forth a bit, it does tend to lead to more balance, even though, again, I say it's rainbows, unicorns, pots of gold.
And
Go
I
ahead,
would
Brenda.
add to that, Danielle, I mean, there are trade-offs in that work-life balance. There are going to be times when you will have to lean in much more heavily to your work. There are going to be times when you're going to be leaning more into community engagement because of certain events that are going on, or commitments that are made, or a difference that you can make in your community. And then certainly those times when you have to lean in more heavily with your families. Danielle talked about her daughter, if she's got to be there for a doctor's appointment. Many of you on this call have young children and know what that pull is. Some of you may be balancing other commitments in life. Some of you may be balancing commitments with aging parents. I certainly have gone through all of those things. And that there will be times when you have to lean more one way or another. And it is about doing that with intention and understanding what's the most important in that time, and what's going to have that longer lasting impact as well. And then I would also say, from a trade-off perspective, it is about that work-life balance. And when you're in the business, making those hard decisions on trade-offs. If you need to go in this direction and it's going to take a lot of resources to do that, what are those things that you say no to in the business, either in your particular role or that you're asking the company to invest in? And I'll tell you, that's not something I'm good at. It's hard to say no to things. It's hard to stop doing things. We talk about, what are we going to stop? What are we going to start? What will we continue? And that stop column is the one that doesn't get filled in very, very well oftentimes. And so understanding what those trade-offs, if you need to make a major investment because you know where you're going and how you're going to get there, sometimes that may mean saying no to things that you've done in the past and that are just always been there. And again, that's something I know I need to continue to work on for myself, for our team, and for our business. But those are important trade-offs in addition to that work-life balance and what you're managing in your own lives as well.
It is hard to say no. we all face that. And then I think, yes, finding where you can say no, or the yes if it maybe is a way to, yes, I can do it if I have this resource, or if it's on this date, or dot dot dot. So there are ways to manage that well, but that's the juggling act of life that we all have, because we are human, and all of our circumstances are different, but that's the one thing we have in common.
So one more thing that we wanted to talk about just really briefly, and then we're going to open it up for any questions or other comments, but just something I think to keep in mind: know what you stand for. When people, when you're not in the room, do people know, what do they know about you, and what do they talk about in terms of what you stand for? And just always know that every action we have contributes to what you stand for, or at least how you're perceived as to what you stand for. Danielle, what do you stand for?
Well, first, let me say that, Brenda, thank you for posing this question, because when you pose this question, I'll share a little bit, maybe overshare. I did go to ChatGPT. I'm like, what are good? I'm like, I really never thought about this. It was such a cool thing to really think. I stand for a lot of things, but I've never sat down and come to like the one thing. And the ChatGPT did not have the answer. But after putting a lot of thought into this, me, it's passion. Like I wake up every day. I'm absolutely passionate about my family, but I am passionate about my team, our business, the people broadly. And I think you have to have that. You have to have that to be successful and really enjoy what you do. We all work too hard. So that passion would be my one thing. And if I had to pick one, and I hope you all have passion for what you do every day.
I love that. And I think you're right. You can't be successful or find fulfillment without that passion. And that's so key. And I would say for me, I hope what people see that I stand for is about people. And whether that's creating opportunities for people, sponsoring people, connecting people together who I know can help each other be successful, whether I'm in the mix after that connection or not. It's just what I've always been very passionate about. I'll use your term, is about people and those relationships, and how to create paths for other people. And that's what I stand for, and hopes that shows in my personal life and in my professional life. So with that, we wanted to open it up for questions. You can put it in the chat, and we're happy to answer questions or explore questions, explore topics for the next 7 minutes or so.
I'll start off with one, and I'll also read the chat if anybody wants to type in one. I can help filter those. I've never done a 360 before, so maybe the answer is that. But do you, in y'all's position, and y'all work at big companies and you see lots of people, are there some things that y'all feel like women kind of are obstacles for women specifically to leadership, or things that you're like, oh gosh, y'all are always doing this one thing and you just want to tell people, but it's like, is there some huge thing or thing that you see as a recurring theme that women struggle with, that you want to, you're like, if I could tell my 30-year-old self or my 20-year-old self this one thing, is there anything that stands out?
Danielle, you want to jump in first?
Happy to go, because yes, we don't ask. That it's not a competency, it's not a capability, we don't ask enough. And I'd love to see more women in our organization raising their hand and saying, I want to be part of, I'd like to be leading, or some put on a path by asking. There's a gentleman in our organization, Charlie Robertson, some of you may know him, and he has a great line: closed mouths don't get fed. And I always always love when he says that, because it's true. If you don't ask, you're waiting for somebody else to author your story.
I love that. And that is so true. And I see it often. And I've heard people and women respond, you know, why didn't you participate in this? Well, I wasn't invited. I would love to, but I wasn't invited. Raise your hand, have your voice be heard. Ask the question. If you don't get the answer that you need, find that sponsor who's going to help you be a part of that. So I love that. Just ask and have your voice be heard.
Cool. Thank y'all for sharing. Yeah, it's great advice. Had a question from the chat from Haley. How do you plan professional growth when you are in executive leadership role? Where do you find your next steps in your career?
So I think I'll just jump in on that first part of the question. How do you plan professional growth when you're in an executive leadership role? It's all about continual learning and continually looking for opportunities to stretch yourself and do something that you haven't done before and contribute in a new way. And there's all sorts of learning tools out there, whether it's networking organizations, courses, new opportunities. Hey, this is my role, but I want to stretch into this so I can learn more or contribute in a different way, even at an executive leadership level. I think there's all sorts of ways to engage and just be constantly looking for those opportunities to learn and contribute at a different level.
I agree, Brenda. And I recently did my MBA, finished it last year, and looking at a course on AI for executives. So I'm always looking for the education and continuous learner. But the second question, where do you find next steps? For me, it's not about the next step in my career. It's about the bigger impact. Like, as you, at least in the role I'm in, and in the role that I've been in the past, it's you can be in the same role and you can make a bigger impact on the organization. And that, I will tell you, that's what I strive for. It's not necessarily what's next.
Cool. We'll do 2 more questions in the chat and then we'll wrap up, since we just have a few minutes left. Julie, who I had a chance to meet at Beyond Balance and who I think is an awesome person, she said, you both work for large corporations. What about advice to grow within small family business?
Again, I'm going to plug Wi-Fi and other organizations just like this, where you can leverage all the resources that come your way that may be outside of your business, your small family business or your small organization. There's so much learning to be had and so much development and growth that can be had. Building that network, not only inside your organization, but outside your organization, building that network, and that will contribute to your growth.
Okay. And let's see here.
A hand up, Andrea. I don't know if it.
Yeah, someone did have their hand up for a little while.
I couldn't see who it was.
Anybody want to get?
It's Ellen. Okay. It was me. I just want to thank you guys. This was wonderful. And one thing that you said, I think Danielle said it, was, you know, we need to learn how to say no sometimes, not necessarily in our professional lives, but in our personal lives. You get guilted into, especially when your children are younger, if you have children or you just have a lot of commitments, to learn how to say no. But something that someone taught me when my daughter was younger was learn how to say no, but don't feel like you have to give an excuse. You don't have to say, I can't do this, but, or because. You just say, it's not a good time for me. And don't feel like you have to give excuses of why you can't do something. Just, if it's okay if you say no, and own that. So I just wanted to add that. So thank you guys. It was really great.
Thank you, Ellen. It's great
Thanks,
to see
Ellen.
you on here.
We have some other great questions in the chat. Brenda, Danielle, would y'all be willing to maybe look at those and maybe send us some responses that I could email out to the group? In respect of everybody's time, I'll probably let Brenda kind of wrap up with us, but we do have some great questions in the chat, and maybe we can get an offline response to those.
That sounds
I'm-
great.
yeah.
And Jane, I'll send you a list.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah, I'm happy to do that as well. So we can, we'll still have access to this chat, and we'll make sure that we get those answers. And also know, I mean, reach out. Just, Danielle said sometimes it's just asking. So reach out. Um, Certainly, I'm happy to answer questions along the way, not only in the chat box, but beyond that as well. So I just want to say thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I think we could have carried on this conversation with all of you for quite some time, and we only designated an hour, but just really appreciate the engagement and all of you being here. I have gotten so much value personally out of the networking through Wi-Fi, and I hope if you're already engaged that you can continue that. And if you haven't been yet, then please do engage in Wi-Fi and or other networking organizations as well. I just think there's so much to be gained about from that learning and development and the personal relationships that you gain out of that as well. So appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing you at future Wi-Fi gatherings. There is a survey. Sorry, I almost forgot. You can scan this survey and give us some feedback on this session, other things that you'd like to see in the future. So please do take a moment to go online and do the survey. And I think if you would like to, there's one more slide. If you'd like to be a Wi-Fi corporate or individual donor, you can use this QR tag here to get to the site and where you can engage at that level as well. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all.